Jai Gurudev. Jai Masters. A wise being isn't measured by what they know, what they learn. It's by what they realize. You find that as you grow, you feel like you're not learning something new. It's like you always knew it, but you had forgotten it. You weren't paying attention. It's not like some shocking knowledge that you pick up something. It's an awakening. It's a realization that it has always been that way. And I forgot. I wasn't paying attention. That's real growth. That's wisdom. So a wise being realizes that the path is very, very simple. And anyone can walk it. And you can walk it to whatever degree you want to. And you can get as high as you want to and go as far as you want to. And it will take as long as you want it to. And you just realize it's all up to you. And the most basic, I want to get back to basics. I like basics. You should always periodically come back to the basics. That will help you see how you're doing. The basics are very simple. You're a being of great light. You're a being, we say in yoga, of great Shakti. You have inside of you the most amazingly beautiful flow of energy, of chi, of Shakti, that is so powerful that it could just blow you away with joy, ecstasy, love, overwhelming beauty, and could emanate out of you to where it can blow others away and lift the environment around you at a tremendous level. You are a being of great power. It's not that just some people are beings of power. You are a being of great power. That is what is going on inside of you. Why am I special? No. That is what is going on inside of everybody. Period. Everybody. That is what's going on inside. If you have taken human birth, you are something very, very great. Very great. That is what is going on inside of you. So we call it a being of great power. Being of great light. Fine. That's the basics. That's the truth. So why don't I feel that? Why don't other people feel that? Why is it like that? Well, the sun is very, very bright. And it's always shining. Do you know that? The sun never stops shining. For 5 billion years, it's shining. It's not really at night it doesn't stop shining. Right? The summer is not shining brighter than in the winter. Just go out there in space and look. The sun is just sitting there shining. The star is just sitting there shining the same all the time. But it doesn't seem that way. That's because it can get blocked. It doesn't stop. There's nothing. The cloudiest of all days, the sun is shining exactly the same. In the midst of the darkest night, I guarantee you the sun is shining exactly the same. That is the truth inside of you. It is shining all the time, exactly the same. But it is blocked. So what does it mean it's blocked? It means where your awareness is, where your consciousness is, there's something in between that awareness, your normal hi, you in there, hi, right? You're in there, hi, right? Your awareness of being, I'm in here. I don't feel all this light. I don't feel all this joy. I don't feel all this love. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, well, if you're underneath the clouds on the earth on a cloudy day, I'm crazy. The sun's not there. I'm not stupid. Go out at night. It's pitch black. The guy doesn't know what he's talking about. That's why. Because your angle to it, your access to it, the blockages or clouds that are between you and it make it appear that it's not there. But it is there. The sun is always shining exactly the same. We can go to outer space. We can see pictures. Okay? The sun is just sitting there shining for 5 billion years. All right. So it is exactly the same inside. The reason you, your consciousness, your awareness of being, does not experience that light, that power, that beauty, that love, that blinding power of greatness, is because there is a blockage that stands between you, your awareness of being, and the rest of your being, like your whole being, all that light. Okay, that's the basics. That's the basics. And I can prove it to you. How you like that? You might sit there and say, why am I supposed to believe you? I've never experienced that. That's a lie. You have experienced that. There are times in your life where you felt dark, closed, uncomfortable, weird. Okay, so it feels like on the other side of the blockage. Okay, it's just dark. It's not neat. And then something happened. I don't care what it was. Somebody called you. You won something. Somebody complimented you. Something happened. And in a billionth of a second, you felt 1,000 times better than you did a second ago. All of a sudden, there was this joy. There was this love. There was something. I don't care if it's only happened once in your life. It has happened, hasn't it? How long did it take? That's how long it took. You understand that? That's how long it took for you to go from not doing so good to, whoa! And we won't talk about how many times it happened the other way. You're doing totally fine, that you believe everything. I'm saying, God, he's right. I'm feeling all this love and joy. And somebody just looks you to the wrong way, or not the right way. Anything. And all of a sudden, there's pain, and there's fear, and it's not love anymore. Ever happen? How long does that shift take? Why is that? Because the sun is always shining. You are always there. All it takes is for a cloud to come in between. You don't see that sun anymore. All it takes is for a cloud to move, and all of a sudden the sun is there. I'm showing you. You have experienced this. You just don't understand what you're experiencing. You don't have to build that energy. It's there. You're sitting there upset with somebody, everything, and then they just say just the right thing. You feel nothing but love welling up inside of you. You just want to, right or wrong. If you open the blinds, the light is there. If you close the blinds, it's not. That's the basics. You are a being of light. You're a being of conscious awareness. You can't see the light because there is a blockage in between. Just like the sun. Just keep thinking of it as the sun. So you get to a point, since those are the basics, where you say, what am I going to do about that? All right? Because I don't know about you, I like the light. I like that feeling of power. I like that feeling of high and rich greatness that can flow inside, which is very rare to most people, but I'm telling you, it can be there all the time. That's your basics. The reason it's rare is because there's always blockages. That's all. So basically, the question becomes, what am I going to do about it? And what you're going to find out, and I always talk about this, but I'm going to go very deep tonight, so I'm going to go right quickly past it. I know what you're going to do about it. You can think about it all you want. I already know the answer. You're going to try to get light. And there's nothing you can do about it. That is your nature. You are going to try to either get less negative or more positive. That is what every single human being is doing at all times. It is your nature. You just want higher. I want it better. So if it's down, you want it to come up some. Right? If something's bothering you, you want it to stop bothering you. There, that's more positive. That's less negative. If something's good, you want it to be better. Right? I love you. What? I couldn't hear you. Hold me closer. Spend more time together. If it's high, you want it higher. If it's low, you want it less low. That is the nature of your being, that you want to experience love, beauty, light, joy, non-negative, non-depression, non-disturbance, any way you want, either less negative or more positive. So what you're going to do about it is that. So now the question becomes, how do you go about doing that? And that becomes the entire crux of the quality of a person's life, is the question of what are you going to do in order to get less negative or more positive. And what most people do, and it's just sad, but it is what most people do their entire life, is they notice that things outside can act as stimuli that cause the blockage to get out of the way for a moment. Somebody can say something nice to you. You can win the ball game. You can get complimented. You can look good. Whatever the heck it is. You can pull up in a new car and everybody goes, "Ooh, there's so many things, aren't there?" I can make you list all the things that turn you on. It is not true that they are turning you on. You are always on. They are opening the blinds so that you can see what's always there. So yes, it is true. It is absolutely true that things outside can cause a shift in the clouds. Let's call them clouds. I like weather. I call it inner weather. Okay? Can cause a shift in the clouds so that all of a sudden you, this piece of consciousness that's aware of itself, can either experience more or less light. The things outside are not made of light. The same thing that turned you on yesterday doesn't necessarily turn you on today. It doesn't turn on the person next to you in any way, shape, or form. Every single thing is a shift in your inner patterns of clouds so that either you see more light or less. It's not the same for everybody, is it? And it's not the same for you a year ago, or 4 days from now, or 4 minutes from now. God, I love you so much. I love seeing you. Oh, I love seeing you too. And there it goes back and forth for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Enough already. I need some space. Where's that point? I don't know, but it happens. All of a sudden, that which turned you on before is not turning you on after a certain period of time. And it is because the thing in and of itself is not a source of light. The light is inside of you. The love is inside of you. The joy is inside of you. The bliss is inside of you. The high turn on is inside of you. It is a spontaneous rush of light and energy that is, the source is inside. And so you feel that. But outside things can shift the clouds that are inside. And therefore you get to experience that. Now there's your next really important basic. Because if you get that wrong, you're out there chasing things outside your entire life. You think you're looking for the light outside when the truth is it's inside. Like when you really feel love and joy, you can't keep your eyes open. The state of a being in great joy is what? Oh. That's it. The head goes back, the eyes close. Great joy. Why? Because it's inside. And so it pulls you inside. That's where that is. So basically, you catch on that that's the relationship of things. Because if you get it wrong, have fun. Because you won't. You'll be out there chasing. What's that song? Looking for love in all the wrong places. You are out there looking for the love, the light, the joy, the happiness, the freedom, everything through the outside stimuli instead of realizing, hey, it's inside of me, but there's these clouds. Yes, there are things that can shift the clouds. Outside things can cause a shift in the clouds inside. Therefore, you will either feel more joy, light, and love, or you will feel more darkness and discomfort. So either you decide, and this is your big decision, this is the most important decision of your whole life. Am I going to continue trying to create or get or manipulate or figure out what I need outside so that it will shift the cloud inside? So I'm out there chasing people, places, and things, all right, and then clinging and controlling and fearing, and that's where all of that comes from. If I think that something outside is going to cause me to get dark inside, then I'm afraid of it. How about you? If I think that something outside is going to cause me to feel joy and love inside, then I want it. I am desirous. And so all of your feelings of fear and desire and need and anxiety, all of this is because you have fallen into the trap of thinking that the answer is outside, when the truth is the answer is inside. So your choice, your real big choice in life, the biggest choice you will ever make, is how am I going to go about getting high and avoiding negativity? Let's call it raising myself. You do want to raise yourself, don't you? All right? How am I going to go about raising myself? Am I going to try to figure out how things need to be outside so that they hopefully shift the clouds inside so that I somehow experience the light? I don't know, it's magic or something, I don't know. But I got to figure it out anyways. If she likes me, no. If she, no. If he, I don't know. You hear me? How am I going to figure it out? What I need? Should I go to Hawaii? Should I go to Alaska? Where should I do my vacation? Because there's these beautiful snow things and there's these beautiful heat things, and I can't figure it out. I'm so anxious. About what? About figuring out how to not be anxious, how to be high. You get anxious trying to figure it out, don't you? Should I get married? Is this the right person? Wait a minute, what are you doing? I'm trying to make something outside happen that shifts my patterns inside because I want to get high. I want to lift myself, raise myself, but I can't figure out which one to do. So it's bringing me down. By the way, there's a big clue. There's something wrong with this. What's wrong with this picture? It's supposed to be lifting you up. Then why are you so anxious? Why do you feel so anxiety? Why do you feel fear of loss? Why is there jealousy? Why is there all these things? Like, why do you want a relationship with that person? Because I've decided that that person, if they treat me a certain way and they be a certain way, etc., will shift my clouds inside and I will feel love and joy. All right? Very good. But that person is dancing with somebody else. Well, that's not okay. So all of a sudden you feel worse. Things are not supposed to make you feel worse when you're trying to feel better. There's a real clue there. If you were eating something, and you say, oh, I don't feel good. Things will make me feel healthy. You start eating it and you get sicker, and sicker. You can't even move. You can't even pick up the fork. I need more. No, you don't need more. You need less. There's not one of you that would keep eating it. You're an intelligent being. So if you're trying to feel love and joy, and what you're feeling is jealousy and possessiveness and anxiety and fear of loss and tension, it's a wake-up call. You're looking for love in all the wrong places. You're going about it the wrong way. So one choice, and this is what I say, the choice of your life, it's the choice of your life, is I am going to figure out how everything needs to be for this stuff to shift inside, of which I understand nothing, so that I can feel love and joy. And the second choice, and that's what I'm going to talk about tonight, because I'm going to assume you're past the first one, is to say, wait a minute. When I feel love, it's inside of me. When I feel joy, it's inside of me. When I feel happiness, it's inside of me. When I feel enthusiasm, it's inside of me. When I feel passion, it's inside of me. I don't care what word you want to use. They come from inside, don't they? All right, it's an inner experience. Well, then why don't I just find it in there? Seems to be in there somewheres. It comes up. Remember I said in a billionth of a second it can shift and all of a sudden be there, can it? If the cloud shifts, if something happens outside that causes the cloud to shift, and this is the difference between living a spiritual life and living a worldly life. That's the word. I don't say anything negative with worldly. It means I think that the way I'm going to get happy and joyful and lift myself is in the world. It's going to be by getting you guys to be the way I want you to be all the time, and getting the weather the way I want it to be, and getting everything to be the way I want. Then I'll be okay. All right? Versus spiritually, what we talk about spiritually is, it's inside of me. That good stuff I like. Same stuff. You understand that? If you run up to me and say, oh, I love you, and I wanted you to, and if you run up to me and I don't want you to, and you say it, then I don't feel so good. Have you noticed? There's really a lot of clues here. Right? I don't know why we don't pay attention. So if I'm getting what I want, it causes a shift inside of me and I feel joy. But the joy I feel is inside of me. Net result is you catch on that experience of joy is what you're seeking. That's what you experience when you get what you want and it happens inside. That is what a Buddhist monk experiences. If you think he's missing something, was he sitting going, he ain't missing nothing. He's getting what you're running around trying to get everybody to be exactly the way you want so that you can experience that rush of love. He found out how to go there and find it inside, because it is inside and it is always inside. And that's what I said, the most major decision you will ever make in your life, because it determines the entire direction of your life, is what are you going to do about the fact that these clouds are in the way of you experience what is already inside of you. The greatness, tremendous, beyond anything you've ever experienced. Take the peak experience you ever had, anything you've experienced where there's this tremendous freedom of rush, of high, of beauty coming up inside of you. Multiply it times 1,000, and that's the start of what happens if you go there directly. There is unlimited of that inside of you. And you know it intuitively because you're always trying to get more. Nothing's high enough, is it? Right? I mean, seriously, take any of those situations, love, intimacy, vacations, rushes, whatever the heck crazy stuff everybody does. I don't talk about it. All right? It's never enough, is it? You always want to keep it and get it higher and get more. That's because intuitively you know there's more. There's more. There's unlimited. So it's the same joy, the same love that you find inside as what you feel for a moment when the clouds shift and you get to experience it. Except that there's more, and it's not momentary, and it's what we call unconditional. It's not conditional upon how people talk or what they wear or what they say or what your hair looks like or whether your car started or not or whether somebody else's looks better than yours. It's unconditional joy, unconditional love, unconditional high. You see, that's why they use the word unconditional. The other way is completely conditional because it needs the conditions to be a certain way in order for the clouds to shift. It's not so complicated now, right? Well, you just understood one of the deepest things to understand, why they call spiritual love unconditional love. So there is this thing called unconditional love, unconditional light, unconditional joy, unconditional power, unconditional strength, unconditional inspiration. It springs spontaneously from inside of you. It is not dependent upon anybody or anything, cannot be taken away, diminished, or increased by anything that's going on outside of you, because you have gone directly to the source. That is spiritual. Now you have a definition of what spiritual means. Why is that called spiritual? Because some people call that source of light spirit. Therefore it's about that, therefore it's spiritual. I don't care what you call it. I want to call it Shakti, Chi, power, energy, spirit. I don't care. It's just a word. A word for what? That which is inside of you. And that which you feel when you open, because situations are such, I'm telling you, that's spirit. So if I feel tremendous passion because I love somebody and they show up and I feel all this love and passion, I can't stay away from them, that's spirit, yes. It's spirit that won't last very long, all right? It's spirit that when the clouds are open for a moment, because the condition is just right, then you get to feel all this energy rushing up inside of you. It's nice, isn't it? But it comes out and it wastes itself. And it's gone. See, things are not right or wrong. It just depends on what you want. You understand? I always say they're not right or wrong. They just either work or don't. And if what you're looking for is high energy, that's always there, you're going to find out that these momentary rushes ain't going to give it to you. And these momentary situations that just temporarily open the centers, open the clouds, you're going to start rushing and getting dependent and getting weird because you try to cling and hold on to these circumstances that momentarily give you a rush. So it's not that they're wrong. In the great teachings, it's not about right or wrong. The great teachings are about where do you want to go and is this going to get you there? And where you want to go is to that light, to that greatness that's inside of you. Now the question is, what will get you there? And so a great being follows that. So the big choice I've been talking to you about, which is your lifelong choice, is are you going to go outside and try to figure out in your mind what conditions need to happen outside so that you will feel better inside or not worse, and how do I get them to be that way? And then I'm going to struggle with the outside world to try to create moments of joy. And I'm telling you, that's actually sad to say that. Moments of joy. I don't want you to have moments of joy. What kind of thing is that? It's like somebody starving to death and every once in a while they get a little food. No, I want you to eat properly and not have to think about it, not have to worry about it. You're not a beggar. You shouldn't have to go out there and beg for love or joy or enthusiasm or energy or anything like that. You have it inside of you. So a spiritual life says, I have devoted my life to finding that energy inside of me, as opposed to I've devoted my life to trying to manipulate and control the world outside of me based on what I think will give me the energy inside, and I'm trying to make it be that way, but it doesn't always work very well. Plus the fact that I don't get it that way, I get resentful or jealous or insecure or possessive. I end up with more of a mess than I started. Isn't that what happens? So spirituality is the most rational thing that ever existed. Once you understand, it's just rational. It works, the other way doesn't. So now we come down to, I told you I want to go deeper tonight. How do you do this? Can you come down to basics? I like the basics. There's all kinds of complicated stuff. Just come down to basics. What we said was there is a cloud in between. There's blockages in between that are making it so you can't experience your own light, not somebody else's, your own light. Well, then it would seem to me that it makes sense to get rid of the cloud, instead of trying to create conditions that will momentarily open it up and make you feel better. Can you get rid of the cloud? Yes. Absolutely. You raise your hand, but you don't know what I've done. I don't care what you've done. It makes absolutely no difference what you've done. It just means the clouds are heavier or thicker because that's where the clouds come from. The clouds are things you built in your psyche because of your inability to deal well with situations in your life. So you hurt somebody, and so now you have stored inside of you this yickiness that you hurt somebody. Somebody hurt you, and you couldn't handle it. You couldn't understand why they did. And you're resentful, so now you have this yickiness inside about that. You got a few of those? All those things that you stored inside of you because you were not able to process them when they happened. What does that mean? Let them go, right? It happened. The word passes through. It's gone. I told you. I've taught you before some of this stuff, right? This is how a healthy being lives. There is a world out there. It is unfolding. I'm in here. When it's happening, I am interacting with it. I am dealing with it. I am experiencing it. When it is gone inside of me too. If it's gone outside, it's nice. I haven't met you yet. Just sitting there, it's nice. I'm looking at you. I'm enjoying your presence. Someday you will get up and you will not be in here. During the time you are here, I am experiencing you. During the time you are not here, I'm not wishing you were here. I'm not wishing you never were here. I'm not doing anything because you're not here. Somebody else is here or something else is here. So I'm living in the here and now. There is a real world out there. I have the right to experience it. If instead I'm holding on to things inside that are no longer going on outside, guess who's out of harmony with reality? It's not complicated. I am out of harmony with reality. Why? Reality went away. The car drove by. The storm came through. God, the storm's coming through. Oh my God, it's so strong. Look at the winds. All these things. Okay, now it's gone. Oh, the storm was here. Oh my God. No, the storm's not here. It's beautiful out, but it's not beautiful in. You were unable to process the experience inwardly. Life had no trouble processing the experience. I'm very proud of nature. She's unbelievable. She comes with a tsunami. She comes with tornadoes. Then the next day she smiles. Bright and sunny, blue skies. Everything's in total, utter destruction. And she just, morning has broken like the first morning. She does that, I watch. Everybody's busy watching the destruction. I'm watching nature. Look at, she's unbelievable, isn't she? She's unbelievable. She's beautiful. There's black holes in space that swallow stars and galaxies, right? There's quasars and giant gamma ray bursts. I mean, there's so many big things going on, and then it's just what is. It's unbelievable. But as a human being, we're babies. And that which comes in leaves marks on us. It leaves these impressions that stay inside of us. Like when mommy yelled at you. And then when your first girlfriend dumped you. That's 20 years ago. 30 years ago. 40 years ago. What in the world is that doing in there? So that now when you hear the name Sally, your heart goes, 50 years later. What's that all about? That's weird. That's downright weird. But don't tell me it doesn't happen. Look how simple the basics are. That is what the clouds are made of. Can we just stop for a second? That is what these clouds we've been talking about are made of. They are your psyche. They are what you stored inside, your mind and your heart, emotionally and mentally. The events came in, the events passed in reality. They did not pass inside of you. You stored them inside of you. Did you store every single event? Absolutely not. If the event did not cause any reasonable amount of high or low, I like it, I don't like it, it just went right through. You go into a room, there's hundreds of people, but one of them is your girlfriend. You're looking to see if she was somebody, where's that? The only thing you see is that person. You understand that? That's all you're looking at. So in the meantime, all these other things are going on. They don't leave impressions on you. You can't even describe to me who was there or what was going on, right? It all comes in and it passes through. So you have these issues. Let's call them issues. We just turn them from clouds into issues, right? So you have these issues inside of you that you stored inside of you, and I'm telling you, you don't want those in there. And I just got through telling you, you can clean them out. Most people will not tell you that. It doesn't make any difference how long they've been in there. It doesn't make any difference how big they are, what you've done, how wrong they are, how right they are, how good they were, how bad they are. It just means they're stronger. They are not permanent. They do not leave any permanent mark on you. There's nothing in, there's not stone in there. There's air in there. When you ride on air, it don't stay. It's like riding on water. That's how it should be. You ride on water, it just leaves a mark as it's there and then it's gone. It comes right back. That is the nature of your inner being. It's not made out of rock or stone. It's very etheric. It's very open, your psyche. Look how quick it can change, can't it? You can change your mind in a billionth of a second. It's not solid. It's very loose, but yet the stuff stays. How does it stay? You do it. You don't realize it. You're doing that. You are holding that stuff in there because you couldn't let it go through you. You weren't willing to let it pass through you. You, the consciousness, would not let this event, you couldn't stop the event from happening. It happened. There it goes. I mean, the past is the past. Nothing you can do about it. It's already gone. But inside, that's my world in here. And I have will. And I did something really, really stupid with that will. If I think it was stupid what I did outside, what I did inside was a billion times stupider. Because the outside came and went. I kept the inside in there for my whole life. Because I did something in 5th grade. Or, you hear me? Don't do that. You don't want to do that. Because every single one of those things that you stored in you, like that, created one of these thick blockages that stand in between you, the consciousness, the amount of consciousness you currently have, you, and this tremendous source of light of your being. This is the cloud that stands in between. Does everybody have that? That's really important to have that. Okay? Like I say, we're talking about the basics. I swear to you, that is what's going on. How do you know? Watch what happens when you take a new one on. Just take a new one on. You were doing fine with somebody, then all of a sudden something went wrong, something happened that didn't feel good, and now what happens next time you see them? A month later, 2 months later, ooh, you feel yicky inside. You didn't used to feel yicky inside when you saw them. You didn't feel yicky inside before you ever met them. You didn't feel yicky inside when things were going well. Now you feel yicky inside for the next God knows how long, and it's not even happening. There's nothing happening. You did that. That proves to you. All you have to do is take one more of those. They're called samskaras. Take on one more of those patterns, and you're a mess. Now add up how many of those patterns do you have? Oh my God. No wonder you drink. That's why people drink. That's why people do these things, because they can't handle what it's like to live in there. Because it gets so dark and it gets so weird that they want to be a little better. They just want to do something that keeps them from having to experience that. We do crazy things to try and get away from ourselves. All right? A wise being does the following. It's true. I have all this junk in here. How about you? Lots of it. You know you have it? Because things hit it every day and bring it up, and all kinds of weird things go on. Plus you have weird dreams. Plus it's just all in there causing a mess. And so you look at it and you say, if I got but one life to live, I'll use it to get rid of that stuff. Because that stuff is not doing me or anybody else any good in any way, shape, or form. I don't want that stuff inside of me. I don't care what I did. I don't care what anybody else did. Boy, that's what comes down to it. You have to be willing to say that. If you say, but I don't like what they did, it was terrible what they did. Okay, fine. Be screwed up for your whole life. Because what they did happened 10 years ago. And we talked a little bit about that last time. So you just get to the point where you say, I am not going to have these clouds inside of me for the rest of my life. I'm not. I don't care what it takes. I don't care how hard it is. I don't care how much it hurts. I don't care what it is. I am getting that stuff out so that I can experience this beauty, this love, this light that is inside of me. That's all. And that process is called spiritual purification. So if you can purge to get rid of these things that you've stored inside of you, I am telling you, you will feel more light. You will feel more love. You feel more joy all the time. It just becomes a state of your being. The less of you, the better off you are. The less of you there is, the better off you are. And so you go through this process of learning to, one, not take on any more, and two, get rid of what you've already got in you. And eventually you'll get to the point, because you'll see it'll work. As you let that stuff go, you get happier. As you let more of it go, you get happier. And then more things can happen outside that don't disturb you. And you start to become impervious. You start to become a strong, high being that's capable of handling things because your strength is coming from inside. You're all strong. You're so strong it's incomprehensible. You're the strongest beings take the strongest being you ever saw, tag, you're it. Saw the person that was feeling the most love at any point, tag, you're it. There is unlimited light and love and joy inside of you. It is just that you have these blockages, and that makes you weak. If you can't get to the strength, you're going to feel weakness. But it doesn't mean you're a weak being. The sun is always shining the same. I don't care how many clouds there are. So you have to understand, you don't even know who you are. You only know what you look like on top of these blockages. And it don't always look so good, does it? And then you think, that's who I am. That is not who you are. That is what the blockages look like because you're looking at your blockages. And so you don't define your self-concept that what I really need, that you cross this great bridge to where your self-concept is not, oh, I'm a lovely person who did this wrong and did that wrong and people don't like me. What are you doing? That's you looking at your blockages and describing yourself. That's not who you are. When your self-concept becomes, I'm a being of great light, but right now I can't get there. All right? But at least you have the proper concept of understanding you are something very, very great. And you will never not be. It is just the question, are you willing to do the work to reunite your consciousness with the rest of your being? Because these blockages have been built in between, and all you experience is like the tiny iceberg, and the rest of you is underneath. And so you just eventually get to the point where you say, I'm going to get rid of these blockages, and that's what I'm going to devote my life to. Because that's what's going to get me what I want, which is joy and love and strength and well-being. And the world will unfold. I will deal with it, but I will deal with it for the purpose of cleansing, for the purpose of getting rid of my blockages. So, now that you see that that's the beginning and end of a beautiful life, how do you do that? Can you get rid of these blockages? Yes. Right? First, how do you not take on new ones? So these are basics. Because those are not fun to have in there, are they? You don't want more. So what do? Events unfold during the course of your day. Maybe you've noticed that. Sometimes they don't feel so good. Either you don't get what you want or you get what you don't want. There they are, all right? You need to become conscious enough to say, that's just truth, that's reality. King Solomon said it. For everything there's a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. A time for love, a time for hate, a time for joy, a time for sorrow. A time for war, a time for peace. Whoa, he went the whole gambit, didn't he? So you sit there and say, there were things that are going to unfold during this day. Some of them will feel good, and some of them will not. I would rather accept that truth than store that stuff inside of me. I'm not going to store that stuff inside of me. I would rather go through the experience. This is so important. I would rather go through the experience until it passes through me than I would try to resist the experience, freak out, and keep it away from me so it stays inside of me. Then it does nothing but grow and pollute the rest of my life. You have to understand that. If you keep it inside of you, it will destroy your life. So you learn to do this. And there are lots of techniques. There's lots of things you can do. I don't get into all the techniques because there's so many people teaching them. I'm more interested in you seeing why you would do it than any particular thing you would do. But what you need to do is realize you do not want this stuff inside of you. You don't want it in there. It is blocking everything you're seeking. It makes it harder to find what you're looking for because you keep storing this stuff inside. You just decide, I'm not going to do it. Very good. So now events will unfold today, now, in a moment, that will hit you in a way that is not so good. All right? I need you to say, goody, goody gumdrops, I like it. You're not a baby. It just hurts for a minute. It just feels weird for a minute. It's just something passing through. It's going to go away if you leave it alone. No matter what it is, it will come, it will form a cloud inside of you, and if you keep your hands off, it will dissipate and pass through. When the event happens, it will pass right through. Do you know that? It's not going to stay in there unless you keep it in there. And so the question is, are you willing to experience some things that aren't so pleasant inside so that you don't have to keep them in there? Or do you treat yourself in a way where you say, no, I'm not going to experience this. I'm not going to experience what actually happened. I'm not going to experience what I'm experiencing. And so you suppress it. You block it. You push it away inside of you. Because I'm telling you, it will stay there until you eventually let it go, which could be never in your entire life. And I don't want you to do that. So this is the basics. You make a rule for yourself. I am not keeping this stuff inside of me. Why? Because the purpose of my life is to feel joy, love, light, beauty, and this is not going to help me do that. It's just like saying, I'm not going to eat that stuff that made me sick last time. No, it's exactly the same. It looked good, it smelled good, somebody talked me into it, my friends are doing it, but boy, did I get sick? I am not eating that anymore. Why? Because it made me sick. Well, that's not a good reason. Yeah, it is. It's a real good reason. But your friends are eating it. I don't care. But you ate it last time. I was stupid. You just get to the point where you realize, I'm trying to be healthy. I'm trying to raise myself. If I know that's not going to do it, I am not going to do it. Then you do the same thing inside of you. If I store this stuff inside of me, it is going to destroy my joy, my love, my light, all of my life. Therefore, I will not store it inside of me. All right, so now how do you do that? First, you have to want to. Please, I want you to want to. I care about you. I don't want you eating stuff that makes you sick all the time. All right? And so you decide, how do I do that? I've taught you a way. I don't know whether you do it or whether you see it yet. You are the one who's in there. There's the highest way. You are in there. You are noticing that there's a disturbance going on inside of you. Otherwise, how would you know? You do see it, don't you? You see the darkness. You see it pulling on you. You see this disturbance. The highest thing you can do is to ask who sees it. Not what is it, not where did it come from, not what do I do about it. Who am I that sees that disturbance? You do see it, don't you? My heart hurts. How do you know? Come on, I'm in here. Good. Hang out with the one who's in there. Hang out with your consciousness. Hang out with the one who sees. Don't hang out with what you see. Hang out with the one who sees. And what that does, that is so powerful, is it leaves space between you who sees and what you're seeing. And that space is exactly what's needed to give it room to pass through. If you go down and get all involved in it, oh, how could I have done that? Oh my God, oh, and just get in there, there's no space. There's no space. Instead of letting it go, you're reinforcing it. You're feeding it. You want to give it space so that it can pass through. So what you do is you sit back into the seat of self, you lean back into the core of your being from where you watch from. Somebody's noticing that your heart hurts. Somebody's noticing that this thing disturbed you. Otherwise you wouldn't know. Lean in that direction instead of in the direction of what is disturbed. And over time, you will learn to do this and you will liberate yourself. You will free yourself. That is the only thing you need to learn to do. If you learn to do that with everything, it all will come up and pass. To whatever degree you're willing to give it the room, it comes up and passes. The events of today will pass through, therefore they won't leave marks. If you don't put new stuff down, guess what happens? The old stuff comes up. All by itself. Is it a good thing that it comes up? Yes, it is a very good thing. When it comes up, you look at it, you say, you are the one that has kept me from feeling great joy and great love and great strength and great inspiration. You ain't staying in here. You are welcome to come up. This is your day. It's your day. Have fun. Express yourself. Knock yourself out while I lean away and relax. Not, No. Just relax and release. And it will come up. But it will have to pass before your consciousness. You don't get to take an anesthetic. Because the entire purpose of this is the evolution of the soul. It's all about you becoming conscious enough, aware enough, to where you don't do this anymore, so that you're ready to go to the next level. So an event is coming up, it's causing disturbance. Are you ready to let it go? It happened 5 years ago, it happened 6 months ago, it happened 10 years ago. I don't care. I'm telling you, this stuff will come up. What Mommy said when you were 5, you'll smell something in a kitchen. It will remind you of what the kitchen smelled like when you were 5, and all of a sudden all this emotion will start coming up. Anybody who experienced it? Things stimulate this stuff. Why? Because it's down there, and it doesn't want to stay down there. So the question is, are you willing, when it comes up, to remember this talk? I told you, this is basics. These are the basics of personal and spiritual growth. Are you willing to remember at that moment, oh goody, this is coming up. I want this out. All right? So there you're now ready. Are you willing to go through what it's going to feel like to let this pass through? And are you able? You got to be ready, willing, and able. And that's where your practices come from. That's why they teach you meditation. That's why they teach you mantra. That's why they teach you japa or whatever it is. That's why they teach you whatever the heck it is they all teach you. It's so that you can be ready, willing, and able to do what I just talked about. They have no meaning of themselves. You can meditate for 10 hours a day and then get up and be a freak. Remember, Baba used to talk about that and start yelling at everybody and want everything to be the way you want, right? You can sit there and let go of yourself, and you become enlightened. Right? What is enlightenment? When you, the consciousness, merge with the source of that energy, which is pure light. And all of a sudden there's nothing in between. That's why the Buddhists talk about the void. They talk about emptiness, and they capitalize the E and they capitalize the V. In other words, there's nothing in between. There's just the consciousness has reunited with the source, and you become pure light. You become a great being. So this basics of spirituality is about the process we just talked about, is understanding who you are, understanding you have this stuff in here, understanding on the other side of that stuff is where you want to go. And the only way that's going to happen, you can do it, if you meditate very deeply. Let's talk about that. I never do. If you meditate very, very deeply, very few people can, but if you do, you can push your way around or past that stuff and start to feel and experience the light. That's why people have deep experiences in meditation or through other things. You can't stay there. You won't stay there. It'll be an experience you had. You'll talk about, God, I had this really deep meditation. It was so beautiful. I felt so close to God and the light. Right? Why are we talking past tense? Because it's an experience you had. Because you pushed your way through. And that's fine, because it inspires you. It lets you experience something. The highest state is when you sit in your seat of consciousness and you let go of the blockages so that they thin out and they thin out. And all of a sudden, more things turn you on and less things turn you off, because you're more centered. You're a centered being. You're capable of handling the different situations, and you let go. And then eventually, and it really does happen just like that. You know, one of the masters talked about this, and I see it now. I didn't think about it at the time. I think Yogananda, in one of the lessons, he talked about take a glass of sand and start dropping drop by drop water in it. For a long time you drop it and nothing's happening, is it? Nothing. And then all of a sudden, one last drop, it spills over the side. And from then on, every single drop you drop in spills over the side. Once it becomes absorbed, totally saturated, it will saturate the sand, then it will spill over. My cup runneth over. That is what happens. You thin out, doesn't seem like much is happening, you thin out, you start feeling a little more joy, more things get you high, you thin out, then all of a sudden, it gets thin enough to where your consciousness touches the source, and the light starts to come by itself. It just reunites. It starts to flow up to you instead of you having to go to it, like a hole opened up because it's thin. And all of a sudden this beautiful energy starts rushing inside of you and never stops. It just keeps coming up inside of you, constantly feeding you, constantly lifting you. Now you're in good shape. You're being fed from inside, which is where you should be fed. Now go out and have relationships, because they aren't the same. Relationships before was, I wasn't okay. If you treat me the way I want, then my clouds will move and I'll be better. If you're being fed from inside, all of a sudden a relationship is, I am filled with love and light. Would you like to share some? If they leave, it doesn't work. It doesn't touch the source of your light. You are sharing what you already have. You aren't taking to try and get something. So all of a sudden, relationships are easy. Everything's easy. Work is easy. Everything's easy. I told you, I've described to you before. You're filled with enthusiasm. You're filled with love. You're filled with joy from the time you wake up in the morning. Why? Because you're being fed from inside. And don't you dare say you're not capable of that. It is who you are, right? And these blockages are keeping you from doing that. And so you just decide, I'm thinning this thing out. And I told you how to do it. The highest way to do it is you say, I'm the one who's in here. I know somewhere on the other side down there, there's beauty and light and love. And then there's this junk, this problems that I've always had. And from now on, I'm not going to push them back down. I'm not going to put any more in there. I am going to relax back into me, into the one who sees, the one who experiences all this, and try to give as much room as I can for these things to cleanse and purify. So that is a spiritual life. All right? Are there things that I can do that will help with this process? The more I go to that edge, the more I just want to say to you, you have to want to do it. If you want to lose weight, you have to want to lose weight. I don't know what to tell you. You want to stop smoking? you got to want to stop smoking. I thought that's the most important thing, is that I want to. We can give you little helpful techniques, but you have to want to. You have to be willing to sit there and say, I do not want this stuff inside of me, period. So when it comes up, my first reaction is, I don't want this stuff inside of me. Not, I don't want to experience it. That's a totally different thing. That'll make you push it back down. It's, I don't want this stuff inside of me. And I am willing to go through anything to not have this going on inside of me. And so that's the position you have to take. I have to be willing to let it go. And the way you do that is you just relax in the face of it. And what you're going to find out, I'm going to go to advanced now, right? You're going to find out that it's like the boogeyman. There's nothing really there. Where's it happening? I can't even put my finger on it. It's like some invisible things going on inside of me, and I'm listening to it. Why? There's no reason. Now, there are lots of things you can do in between. For example, these things that are stored in there affect your heart. They affect your emotions. They affect your whole flow. And then your mind talks about them. Your mind is the result, is a reaction to that stuff being stored in there. And so if it's yicky stuff, your mind talks yicky. And so what you'll find is that your natural state of mind is not so healthy. Don't embarrass, don't do anything. It's because of all this stuff. So the natural state of mind is negative. The natural state of mind of almost everybody is, oh, I did wrong and this isn't right and I'll never be okay and nobody likes me. Anybody know anything about that? And I'll never be any better and I don't know why I'm even bothering. Why should I even try? I probably could do it for a day, but I'll never do it for a year, so I might as well not even try. And it's just got all that negative balderdash going on in there. All right, okay, well, what happens when I graduate school? I don't know. I can't get a job. How will I do? It's so hard to get. It's just so full of garbage. It's absolutely unbelievable. And so I'm telling you that all that noise of what your mind normally says to you is because of this stuff you have stored inside. And so you reach a point where you realize, I can't get anywheres if I'm going to listen to all that stuff. It's just going to keep drawing me into these patterns that was built inside of me. And so you decide to do something about it. There are so many things you can do. Like one thing you can do, if you want to play with it, is challenge it. What do you mean? When it says something negative, say something positive. When it says, I'm no good, say, I'm the best there is. When it says, nobody could like me, say, everybody loves me. Just say it. Just make it say it. It will say it. Do you understand that? It'll say whatever you tell it to do. This is what positive thinking is about. Learn to work with your mind, because otherwise it's going to keep pulling you into this negative junk that you're storing inside of you. I just gave you ideas. Find your own ways. Find your own things. You hear me? You're very smart. If you want out, you can work your way out. So you learn to work with yourself. So you start working with your mind. You start looking at your heart and realizing, this thing's a mess. This thing's a problem. Somebody says one word and it gets all weird. So I'm not going to listen to it. I'm not going to go where it takes me. If my heart starts getting weird, I'm going to have a hobby. I'm going to do this. I'm going to read. Just don't get into it. Don't let it pull you into those dark places inside of you. Will anybody listen to me? There's all kinds of stuff going on in there because of these stored blockages. Don't go there. Don't suppress it. Just you don't go there. You know, have some other thing you do when it starts getting weird. That's all I can tell you, right? Immediately, the moment you start feeling those patterns come inside of you, all right, I came up through yoga, so there's nothing great. But for example, they would teach you mantra. Well, what's mantra? If you understand it, it is the alternative to doing the junk that you'd be doing otherwise. So you get in the habit of saying love or God's name. Just form a habit in your mind to saying God, God. That's what I used to do. God, 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 whatever it is. And just get a pattern going inside your thoughts to where just like a song can go on in your head without you doing it, right? If you listen to a song over and over, it goes in there, doesn't it? All right? You just get a pattern going on inside. Now all of a sudden something happens. It stimulates this samskara, this pattern that starts to pull you in. Instead of going there, you go to your mantra. You go to the thing that you built inside. At first it's difficult. You don't want to do it. It keeps pulling you into it. You will learn that if you work with it, you have the right to not go into that darkness. You do not have to go there. It pulls on you. It's a habit that you have formed, but you just catch it early and then start going somewhere else. Go somewhere else. Don't go there ever. It's like somebody who wants to stop smoking. If you want to stop smoking, there are going to be times there are urges. Don't pick up the cigarette. So there are going to be times that these dark patterns that you have inside of you will tend to pull your consciousness into them. I am begging you, you do not have to go there. You're a free being in there, even right now. Even though you still got all this stuff, you do not have to get involved in it. Every time you go there, you are feeding it. Every time you don't go there, you are starving it. That's not the same as going there and suppressing it. Then you're feeding it and hiding it, all right? You just literally don't go there. Go somewhere else. I don't care where you go, all right? But don't go there. And once you start exercising your right, it's your kingdom in there. Once you exercise your right to not go where it's pulling you, you will grow so fast you're not going to believe how fast you can grow. Just change the way you deal with yourself. And always remember, the purpose of my life is to get rid of this stuff. That's the purpose of my life. Period. While I have this stuff, I can't experience the joy, the love, the beauty. That is me. So the purpose of my life is to let this stuff go. And then you work on it. Right? Remember, if you go there, you are feeding it. Your consciousness has power. And where you put your consciousness is where stuff gets power. Because you're the source of all power. So basically, you learn to not go there. You start treating your little psychological games the same as you do diet, the same as you do habits outside that you learn to deal with. You've broken habits, haven't you? You learn to deal with things. You exercise when you don't want to. You stop smoking. You watch what you're eating. Every one of you do some of that outside. You would never just let her do whatever she wants, would you? All right, nobody even dream of that. Same inside. It is exactly the same. There are just these patterns that are pulling you into them, tendencies, habits. Break them. Start developing good habits inside that keep you out of that stuff. Don't suppress it. Just lean away from it. Redirect your consciousness somewhere else, and that stuff will start to fall away. And I'm telling you, it'll happen so fast. You can grow so fast. And then just remember what's on the other end of that rainbow. Pure light. The greatest joy you ever felt happening continuously without you doing a single thing. That's your starting place now. How you go out into every day, into every single thing you do, is being fed from inside. So those are the basics. Work on these things. Jagrata.